Welcome to the Sunday live stream. Amy Seukeran, Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Life Coach, Canada. Today we're talking about victims and the consequences, what they do to the narcissists in their life. Narcissistic parents. There was a request for narcissistic parents, narcissistic mothers specifically. So we're going to talk about narcissistic mothers, controlling narcissistic mothers. Are you a daughter or a son of a narcissistic mother? So what role did your father play if your mother was the narcissist? He was an enabler. Okay, so let's assume you're a grown adult, right? Over 19. So do you have a girlfriend, boyfriend? Are you married? Do you live on your own? Do you still have contact with your mother? Do you still talk to her? Let's go over when you're born. Who took care of you when you were little? Who gave you food? How did you get food? Your parents cooked? Which parent cooked? Why do you keep telling me about you? Do you understand I am the victim? You are the abuser. Stop coming here and telling me about you. What are you going to do? You're an abusive mother. Stop coming on to my live stream. It's not going to change. You're an abusive mother. Why are you here then? Why are you on the live stream? For what reason? Let's go over the Gypsy Rose Blanchard story. Her mother kept her in a wheelchair, kept her sick. Munchausen syndrome, right? Made doctors believe she was sick. Did all kinds of things to her, kept her in a wheelchair. Fooling doctors, right? Doctors, hospitals, all kinds, if you've ever watched that story. Until she was how old? Then she met a boyfriend. Her and her boyfriend. Got rid of her mother. She spent how long in jail? And then how do you think she got out of jail? Why do you think she's not in jail still? Narcissistic personality disorder is a personality disorder, right? We went over what a disorder is when something is out of order. So if it's a personality disorder, your personality, where do you get your personality from? The person you are. You're born with it? The people around you? That's where you learn from? Who you become? Which one? Your friends at school? How old are you when you're your own person? Let's go back to where you heard the word narcissist. Why are you diagnosing people? Okay, let's go over this. Who diagnoses mental health issues? A psychiatrist diagnoses mental health issues? A psychologist diagnoses mental health issues? Oh, we went over the DSM-5, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Health Disorders, right? So in 2019, did you find it in there? And what did it say? You saw my YouTube video. You saw the date. You heard the article, the Psychology Today article. What year was that? 2022? So from 2019 to 2022, how do you think they got all that information? From who? They understand what? That in 2019, nobody knew the word narcissist in Canada? Where? Where did you hear about the DSM-5? We went over, right? Why are you calling people crazy? Because what? Why do you call somebody crazy today? Because they're doing what? Let's go over if it's intoxication, if it's drugs. How do you know the difference? Okay, let's go over how many people do you know that are crazy? Yeah, count them. Okay, what do they do that makes them crazy? The behaviors that they do. What are the behaviors they do that make them crazy? That make you think they're crazy? They're paranoid about things. What does that mean? They're paranoid about things. Okay, let's go over paranoid. Is that guilt? When guilt reaches an extreme? Do you remember going over fear and anxiety? Okay, so where's paranoia come from? What kinds of things alter your mental health? Fear, worry, depression? So what are those things? Worries? Things on your mind. So things in your head are your mental health. So what makes those things off? Let's go over the emotions again. Do you remember the 6 emotions? Happy, sad, mad, all of those? Okay, let's go over. What does that have to do with your mental health? The health of your mind. When is your mind happy? When is your mind sad? What is depression then? When you're overthinking? When you have sad thoughts? When you have angry thoughts? Which one is depression? Probably sad thoughts. So what would angry thoughts be? What do you think that would turn into? As adults, we can think for ourselves, right? As a kid, can you do that? Can you think for yourself, or do you depend on your parents to teach you what's right and wrong? Every single female in Malton. I have no structure. Do you hear yourself? Who are you talking to? I am going to go through every single one of the Malton moms when I'm done this. You look at me again. What are your jobs? What are you? For how many years you did what in Malton? You want to play groups and community, and now what? You're talking to who? They work as what? If I go through the whole Malton Moms group, how many of them work as what? So for the past 6 years minimum, you want is right, right? That's all you've been doing for 6 years, demanding things from people. You want? What do you want? What are you entitled to? You want. Let's go over. It's the Malton Community Center. What did that have to do with anybody? If the Malton moms had a group and they were taking over and doing whatever events, what does that have to do with the rest of Malton? They, here we go again with the they. A group want to attack, and then when somebody does something back, they get more people in the group to attack? That's how Malton was living for 6 years? So again, what are you doing talking to me then? If that's the way you were living? Because what, I didn't agree with it? I wouldn't go along? And you understand how ridiculous that is? They have. What do they have? I'm gonna sit here. I wanna go back to 2019 when I opened the business, a narcissistic abuse recovery life coach in Canada, right on Netherwood in Malton. Let me hear how I ended up in the homeless shelter again. We're gonna get to where Malton learned the word right after they tell me how I ended up in the homeless shelter. In June 2019. Or was that July? The same cloth for shelter. I opened the business, a narcissistic abuse recovery life coach, in March. So how did I end up in cloth for shelter in July? What happened Canada Day? Were you guys all at the mall celebrating Canada Day? Yeah, did you hear the word life coach then and narcissist when you were all at the Westwood Square celebrating Canada Day in 2019? That was July 1st, right? Was Dollarama open then? Who worked there? The Tim Hortons was open? You guys hung out there? You hung out where at the Popeyes, the McDonald's? Oh, we're trying to figure out what happened, right? To Malton. What kinds of stores were in the mall in 2019 if you went there? Was the food court busy? Were there lots of people always in there? Upstairs in the food court in the mall in 2019? What kind of services did Malton Neighborhood Services have, if you remember, in 2019? Well, if I played Pokemon, where were the gyms in 2019? If you remember. At the library? Where? How many gyms were there? The Malton Community Center, same library, if you remember, 2019. What about the mall? Were there any gyms in the mall? Pokemon gyms, yep. How many were in the mall? So was there a Malton Neighborhood Services in the mall? Was it in the community center too? And what about across the street? So how many in 2019 were there total Malton Neighborhood Services offices in Malton? Just 3? So when did that welfare clinic open? If anyone remembers, in the mall there. And what about Peel Public Health? Was it always downstairs there? When did they open that, with the mall? So far, so good. We're just discussing the services and when they opened. Well, we've gone over, right? Brandon Gate was where the Malton moms had their most of their things, right? Remember when the library was there? And then the mall, Wellford opened in the mall. They're laughing. Which ones? Well, why don't we go over it, all of us together? Which one came first? The library moved to Brandon Gate or the mall closed? Where was the bus? It took you where to Brampton? The same Wellfort Clinic? So where was the original Wellfort Clinic before they got the Malton location? And who runs that? Yeah, you're a joke. The mall used to have an Auntie Anne's. Well, they're just proving that they were on my LinkedIn following everything, right? Yeah, why don't I open a frozen pretzel stand with cheese sauce? You guys gonna pay $5 for one? Just like, yeah, all of them, the pretzel shops. You are a joke, Malton. Go, let me hear. Where'd you get that from? If not my LinkedIn. Yeah, go over when I did event planning, what year that was now. I was born in Malton in 1979. What do you want to go over? Do you remember that's the same Brampton flea market I wanted to open a food business in? They kept stopping me from opening food businesses everywhere. Yeah, the shelter actually took all the recipes. That's how they got their food. It was so fancy, right? They were so rich and fancy with the food until they realized. Oh, that's me you keep attacking, right? They get the recipes, they take it from me, and then they complain about it, and then they come back and blame me. You show them good. What year we're in? Well, go ahead, show them the hot dogs in the waffle bar. Yeah, just like the shelter, the nachos, the burrito. Show them again where you got all this from, why you're talking. Well, yeah, let's hear again. What was that, 2014 when the brand new food court opened? 2014. So what was the trend? Cupcakes? No, that was done. Was there a cupcake shop? Oh, there's a bakery that did sugar printing. So when you saw all those cakes I did, what happened? You wouldn't pay for it, right? You wouldn't, no way, pay for a fondant cake in Malton. The price of a fondant cake. Did you see that bakery ever have fondant cakes? How come? How come they never had fondant cakes? Oh, they did? Yeah, what year? Well, let's go over. What year did Jack and Jill close? After I stopped working there. Why did it close down? He wasn't making enough money to pay his rent. Remember, he had 2 units, right? Kent, the owner of Jack and Jill. So what happened? He couldn't pay his rent? Oh, he was a crook? Yeah, how was he a crook? Oh, I'd love to hear this one. If anyone knows the date I started working there, maybe some of the ladies who used to work in the mall can tell me. Anyway, Malton, I'm going to end this live stream here. Half an hour. It's not even worth the hour. You guys have a lot to talk about. Do you understand that? Yeah? You're actual children and generations now. Uh-huh. Those same ladies that work there, all their kids and grandkids. The same men. If they hung out, if they had girlfriends. You have a lot to rethink. Enjoy your night, Malton. Amy Seukeran, Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Life Coach, Canada.